This one is really going to make you question the sanity of the whole entire world. Kate here. Welcome to Sanity Check. This is the first episode of the newest show on the trenches. Woo! And you're probably like, oh my goodness, you're not Bo. No, I'm not. But Bo and I are going to continue doing MOS content, man on the street, bringing you the best content in the game. But in this space, on the second edition to the trenches, I'm going to bring you the second best content in the game, second only to Bo himself.
It says women should be silent in the church. Find Jesus, guys! We must repent!
If it gets published,
were so
I will
nice.
sue.
We were so nice!
And with Sanity Check, we're going to analyze current events, dissect stories, build culture, and most importantly, test the sanity of America. So I hope you stick around. I hope you tune in every week, and I hope you enjoy these episodes. So without further ado, let's dive in.
You just seem very misogynistic, realistically.
What is misogyny?
Oh.
Why are you using words that you don't even know the definition of?
No, that's not what I meant.
I think you are misogynistic, though.
But what does misogynistic mean, though? Like, just so I know what you're calling me.
Okay, so the reason I said it is just, again, based on the It's just like, you just seem very misogynistic.
That's it. So first of all, let's analyze her outfit. She's essentially wearing a dish towel, the kind that I use to like scrub the grime off of my difficult dishes over her boobs. And not that I'm judging a book by its cover, but just by looking at her, you kind of understand the answer she's going to have. But this video is very clear evidence about how we have all fallen prey to the left's social emotional programming and weaponization of words. Social, emotional, or linguistic programming pretty much every time works like this. I see something that I don't like, or I feel like I don't like. Then I call that thing the very first buzzword that comes to my mind. Other people back me up and chant the same word at the thing that they don't like over and over and over again. All of society then adopts that word to indicate when they're uncomfortable about a thing or want to condemn something. Then we find another word that is stronger when the original word becomes muddled. And then we just repeat. That's all it is. Their tactics as the left, they're not subtle because they overuse these same words and run them dry and cry wolf each time that they say it. Supercharging these words is actually beginning to backfire, as obviously no one can define these words anymore. They're pretty much meaningless attacks. And they're used to mask people's foolishness because the reason she's calling him misogynistic was to make him back off. It was a defense mechanism to cover up her own inability to answer whatever question happened before. But someday the left is going to run out of words to wield and words to hide behind, and that everyone is going to be able to see that they have no legs to stand on anymore. So I feel like this video should be a couple lessons to all of us. Lesson 1, keep asking the people who throw these inflammatory words at you to define them, and don't cease on asking until you're given a very clear definition. Lesson 2, know the definitions of the words that you're using so that if in the case that you're asked to define something, you don't look like a fool. And then lesson 3, don't be tricked by the weaponization of words. They will be used as bats against you, and eventually that bat will become weak, and the person who is using the bat is going to move on. They're going to use the words and completely run them dry. So just don't be afraid when they call you words. Have you ever experienced delays on your United flights? Has your luggage ever been lost by United Airlines? Have the flight attendants ever been rude or disinterested or completely subpar on United Airlines? Well, I have a theory, and rot in the system like this might be why. Before we go on any further, that is the CEO of United Airlines, Scott Kirby. That is a hulking dude, a middle-aged, 50-year-old hulking man that is dancing around in like a little like skimpy wedding dress with tights at a drag show. For some reason, when my baggage gets lost or my flights are delayed, not because of weather or anything, but because of a fault that United Airlines has, I feel like they should be working on more important issues. So the CEO of United Airlines is openly a drag queen and more interested in performing drag than running a high-quality airline, it seems. So the next time that your flight is delayed or your baggage gets lost, I hope you remember this extremely creepy video of the CEO of United Airlines, because it seems that our chief executive class is more interested in dancing around in front of a little audience than actually doing their jobs effectively. So this one is really going to make you question the sanity of the whole entire world. So PETA has a new article out linking the drinking of dairy milk to a symbol of white. At this point, what is a symbol of white supremacy, I guess? And the first thing I thought of when I was like about to read this article was they better not have a reference to Christoph Waltz's performance in Inglourious Basterds. Well, of course, that literally is the line that they open up with. When Christoph Waltz's character in Inglourious Basterds, come on. So in the article, they point out that different types of people are more or less able to digest milk or lactose. And of course, their reason is that milk just fares better in some people's bodies than others. So next they say that milking a cow is equivalent to first of all, what in the world? Second of all, doesn't even exist in the animal kingdom because consent and laws and morality don't exist in the animal world. So if there's this idea of like consent in the animal kingdom, then maybe we can have that conversation, but we know that there isn't. So then, of course, their conclusion is essentially to stop you from engaging in a very normal human habit. Whether it's to protect animals, to protect the environment, or to protect people, are all sneaky ways that the left uses to exercise control of your daily life. So if they're trying to get you to stop drinking milk and fear-mongering you into thinking that you're a white supremacist because you like have milk with your cereal, then that's a problem. And they're trying to demonize everyday habits so that they can control you and make you submissive and easier to bulldoze over. So drink milk, be fine, preferably drink raw milk, and just don't fall for the bullying tactics. Let's dive into between the headlines. We have a crisis of masculinity right now. Of course, and I believe that we're going to have a crisis of femininity next. So in our country and around the world, over the last 70 years, we have seen the complete and absolute crumbling of masculinity. In our hyper-feminized culture where feminism and womanism are dominant forces to be reckoned with, there's really no room for masculinity anymore. And there is an active effort to squash any sort of masculinity and label it toxic and evil and unuseful. And in many ways, the efforts of feminists and the state alike to pacify men have worked. Men are softer and weaker and more scared and more timid and more mild than they have been before. Men cry when you misgender them. They run away from conflict and would rather watch superhero movies than actually build a lasting culture with strong families. So there are many things that we could blame this on: processed food, pharmaceutical drugs, the internet, apathy due to hyper-prosperity, lack of marriage, or family building in society, maybe no major world conflict that pulls tons of American men into it, etc. Regardless, we're at an all-time low in masculinity, and it's pretty evident. But thankfully, it's not a fossilized idea that's been forgotten just yet. See, even though it's crumbling and every day more and more guys are painting their nails and doing thirst trap TikToks, we're seeing some men pick up the pieces on the edges and start to rebuild something. So on the right, men are waking up and seeing the demonization and hatred that they're being put through, and they're just like, that's enough, no more. So they're starting to do something about it. From what I've seen, gyms are full. Some families are being led by young men who bring them to church. See, the word honor has started to mean something again. Men are leading the charge against fighting big pharma, and Christianity is really spreading through young men's group chats like a wildfire. I've seen it. I think if you've been out in culture for any second, you have started to see this. Things that haven't mattered in a long time to men are starting to matter again. Dating well, religion, politics, the order of society, history, philosophy. Guys are being reactivated out of this hyper-feminine culture that they've been given and beat down by. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a really encouraging thing to see. And from a woman's perspective, girls don't want soft and squishy men who aren't too afraid to ask the waitress for ketchup. Okay, so keep it coming. This is great. This is awesome. And you're doing something right. But I predict within 10 years, the conversation, at least the early ones, about how to be masculine and the masculinity crisis will pretty much be old news. Men will have generally figured it out. They'll have formulas, they will have infrastructure, they will have how-to books. The right will have full-scale adopted masculinity as their cultural banner, and rightfully so. Men will link arms, hold the line, and rise up. So the question becomes, what's next? Because I'm looking over the shoulder of this present masculinity conversation and seeing a very serious one about femininity that must begin to happen, especially obviously in women's circles. Our American crisis of masculinity is largely being addressed. Again, men are finding their masculinity because it's been lost. They're adventuring to find it. And after they find it and define it, what's next? Where does it go? What is its purpose? Why should men be masculine? All of that conversation is being had right now. So this is where the next conversation comes in. Because the crisis of femininity is largely going unnoticed for now. And one of my goals with this channel is to start having that super important conversation about femininity before eyes are really turned to this conversation, to really define what femininity is, to understand how feminism is trying to blot it out. And I want to actively reactivate women into their femininity and take back what womanhood means. So in this first episode, I want to start at ground zero. What is femininity? It's kind of an important question to discuss. Well, femininity is when a woman is virtuous and graceful and beautiful. Femininity is the state of a woman's being. It's a life-giving force that's a combination of beauty, goodness, and grace expressed by a woman, and only a woman, for that matter. Femininity brings life to everywhere, to a home, to a culture, to a family, and to the world. Femininity is the expression of life and the goodness of it. Because a woman who is resting in her feminine nature is so refreshing. For everyone she comes into contact with, femininity gives them purpose. It gives the world purpose. It gives something for little children to be comforted by, for something for men to strive to protect and to be around, for men to build things for, because the world awaits the input of a truly feminine woman. And we know that men are especially attracted to femininity in its healthiest forms. They're attracted to the warmth of it, the life, the joy. They rise to the occasion simply so they can achieve to impress and care for the feminine woman that they want. Masculinity is inspired by femininity, and femininity is also inspired by masculinity, of course. So you might be asking, wait, hold on. Men are being masculine right now, but women don't have a huge effort to be feminine. So how can that happen if the man content is becoming more popular, but there's not a counterbalancing femininity? Like, how are men being masculine? They're being masculine because you need a spark to start the flame, but the flame will not last long unless there is a complementary force that is building up the other one. So what I'm trying to say is this spark of masculinity won't last long unless it's met by truly feminine women to continually inspire the flame. So enter femininity. The world notices when there's a truly feminine woman because she has a unique power and presence about her. Men need feminine women to have a reason to continually be masculine. Women need masculine men to give them a reason to be continually feminine. They completely inspire each other. They go together, and they really can't last that long apart from each other. Femininity is necessary to motivate and sustain masculinity, and masculinity is necessary to sustain and motivate femininity. There are two sides of the same coin. You really need them both to completely recharge each other, because it's almost like God created man and woman perfectly for each other, complementary, and it's almost like bad things happen when you go against the natural design of what God created. You may be a woman looking at the budding emergence of men today and getting the sense that you actually kind of like when men are masculine and strong and on top of the world and conquering the world and the challenges that they're faced with. So what can you do? What can you do to keep this masculine energy in your life from the man that you're with? Well, the answer is embrace your femininity. That's the only answer. That will keep him around. So girls, let's do this together. This is, again, one of the sides that I'm going to be bringing to the trenches and kind of just really starting this discussion of what is femininity, what is masculinity, how can we best care for them, how can we best encourage them, and how can we not let them both get lost in this hyper-feminist culture ever again. So there's so much more that is to be discussed. If you enjoyed this little segment, please consider subscribing or liking this video. It would really give us some good data on where to take this, but it would mean a whole lot to us if you decided to subscribe and join us every single week for discussions like this. And I just want to take a second and thank Bo for giving me this opportunity to take up space on the trenches. This is going to be a crazy year of content from both Bo and I. We have so much planned, so be ready for videos that are just going to be amazing and crazy and coming down the pike. And yes, we are planning on taking over the world. 100%. That's our plan. You got us. So we're not going anywhere anytime soon. But until next time, go live a beautiful life, and I will see you next week.